Dan, you can begin at any time.
Okay, thank you, Regina. Hi, Dan Jessic here with Maryland Department of Transportation. Welcome to the March Technical Committee meeting for the Baltimore Regional Transportation Board. Please turn on your cameras during the roll call if you could for attendance and also voting items. This meeting is being recorded. And if anyone should experience difficulties during the meeting, please send a message in the chat box and Regina will respond or someone else. So at this time, I'll ask Ms. Rebecca Deal to start the roll call and determine member participation. Rebecca?
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
City of Annapolis.
Present.
Thank you. Anne Arundel County.
Here.
Baltimore City.
Present.
Thanks. Baltimore County.
Present.
Carroll County.
Here.
Harford County.
Hartford County's here. Good morning.
Good morning. Howard County.
Here.
Queen Anne's County.
Here.
MDOT.
Here.
MDE.
Here.
MDP.
Here.
Thank you. MDOT MTA
Here.
and MDOT SHA.
Here.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Rebecca. So first item today is approval of February Technical Committee minutes. From February 4th, have members had a chance to review the minutes? I'm assuming you have. If so, can I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes?
Queen Anne's County will make a motion to approve the minutes.
Hartford County will second.
Okay. Steve Cahoon, Queen Anne's County made a motion to approve and Sam Call from Hartford County seconded. We'll now vote on the approval of the minutes. When your name is read, please indicate aye or nay. And Rebecca, please read down the list of members.
Annapolis.
Aye.
Anne Arundel County.
Aye.
Baltimore City.
Aye.
Baltimore County.
Aye.
Carroll County.
Aye.
Harford County.
Aye.
Howard County.
Aye.
Queen Anne's County.
Aye.
And MDOT.
Aye.
Thanks again.
Thank you, Rebecca. Well, we're going to move on to item number 2. Quickly moving on here. We'll now consider resolution 25-22 to the VRTB for approval. This resolution is a request to consider the alternatives retained for detailed study for the Bay Crossing study. Ms. Heather Lowe from the Maryland Transportation MDTA will present. Thank you.
Okay, let's see if I can get my screen shared. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay. Thanks everybody for having us today. Let's see if I can get this presentation started. There we go. There we go. We're happy to be here today to present the Chesapeake Bay Crossing Study Tier 2 NEPA, National Environmental Policy Act. We'd like to present the proposed alternatives retained for detailed study. And what you see here is a study timeline from about a year ago through the end of the study. So last year, about this time, we presented to the technical committee and the board on the purpose and need statement. In June, we received concurrence from all of the agencies on that purpose and need statement. And then in November, we published a notice of intent to prepare an environmental impact statement in the Federal Register. And that NOI included the proposed ARDs that I'm going to show you today, with just 2 exceptions, and I'll go over those in just a couple minutes. In December 2024, we held public open houses. We had a virtual open house and 2 in-person open houses. They were very well attended, and we received lots of comments. It was definitely a successful open house month for us in early December, those first couple of weeks. So here we are again in, this should actually say March because it's March. In February. So late last month, just last week, we presented those proposed alternatives retained for detailed study to our cooperating or participating agencies. And now here we are in March presenting those ARDs to the technical committee. We have sent out the ARDS package and requested concurrence from the cooperating agencies, and that concurrence is requested by the end of this month, I believe. Coming up in the fall, you will see we're feverishly working on pulling together documents. We're looking at the alternatives, and we'll be working on technical reports that will support that draft environmental impact statement that will be published in the fall for public comment. And we will follow that publishing of the DEIS with public hearings to receive public testimony on the draft environmental impact statement. And included in that DEIS will also be the MDTA recommended preferred alternative. So the next year, in the spring, summer of 2026, we will be back to the cooperating agencies to discuss and request concurrence on the preferred alternative and conceptual mitigation plan. And then in fall 2026, that will be the end of the Tier 2 NEPA study, when we will publish that notice of availability for the final environmental impact statement and record of decision, which will identify the selected alternative. So getting back to the alternatives retained for detailed study, when we developed the alternatives, we looked at several elements in order to pull together those alternatives in this corridor. We looked at the existing bridges. Then we looked at structure type. What would a new crossing look like? What type of structure? We looked at alignments relative to existing US 5301. Would we stay along the existing corridor, or should we venture away from US 5301? We looked at how many lanes a new crossing would be, as well as, well, okay, what about how many lanes on the approach roadways on either side of the crossing? We looked at structure location, meaning in this corridor. So where would a new structure go? Would it be just north of existing bridges, in between, or just south? We also looked at transit and transportation systems management and transportation demand management options. And we looked at a shared use path for bicycles and pedestrians. So this is the key elements overview. We like to call this our popsicle stick slide here. So it has the elements that we looked at, and underneath you can see the options that we looked at for each of those elements. The options that are shown in color are those options that we are proposing to move forward with, and those in gray we're not recommending to move forward with. So the existing bridges, we considered removing both the existing bridge spans, or we also considered, should we keep one or both of the bridge spans? We are recommending to move forward with removing both those existing bridge spans. For structure type, we looked at full bridge, full tunnel, bridge tunnel combination. We even looked at a potential double-decker bridge. We're recommending to only carry forward a full bridge, new full bridge structure type. Alignments relative to existing 5301. We, considering the resources, the development in the area, it really doesn't make sense to be off of that existing US 5301 corridor because of all of those potential impacts. So we're staying for the most part on the existing approach alignment. For the for the number of lanes for the new crossing, we are proposing to carry forward a 686, an 888, and 8108 alternatives, and that signifies the first number is the number of lanes on the western shore leading up to the bridge. The second number is the number of lanes on that bridge, new bridge crossing. And then the third number is the number of lanes on the eastern shore. We are not recommending to carry forward a 666, 1010, or a 101010 alternative, or anything more than those 101010 lanes. For structural location, we looked at a just north bridge location, a just south bridge location. We looked at fully in between the bridge location and the far south bridge location. So we're carrying forward north bridge location and south bridge location. From the transit element, we looked at ferries, high capacity transit, rail and BRT, and bus service improvements. We're recommending to just carry forward bus service improvements for that element. We looked at the transportation system management and transportation demand management, or TSM TDM options. We're recommending to carry forward in the NOI, interchange consolidation, park and ride improvements, and part-time shoulder use. And then the shared use path, which is very popular with a lot of folks. So we are recommending to carry forward consideration of a shared use path on a new bridge. So what I just went over was what was included in the notice of intent. So we've made 2 changes to what we're proposing to carry forward. So for the structure location, the north and in between and the south and in between locations are included in the ARDS. And this means that we're proposing 2 new bridge spans, and we would build one bridge first in one of those locations. So let's say we're going with that north and in between. We would go in and build potentially the northernmost bridge, remove the existing bridge, and then build the in-between bridge. That allows us to use that existing right-of-way, and it minimizes some of those impacts to the bay. We are not recommending to carry forward the all north and all south locations. So from the TSM TDM improvement element, we are not recommending to carry forward interchange consolidation in the ARDS. Just that really is to maintain that current access for local residents and businesses. So this slide shows is an overview of our ARDS. So we always carry forward a no build alternative. That's our alternative A. So that's the 656 alternative. All of the build alternatives would include removing the existing bridges, replacing those with a full bridge with 2 new bridge spans along the existing approach alignment. And they would also include bus service improvements, considering part-time shoulder use and park and ride improvements, as well as the inclusion of that shared use path. So the build alternatives B and C are the 686 alternatives, with alternative B north and in between for that new bridge location, and alternative C is south and in between. Alternatives D and E are the 888 alternatives, and D is that north and in between alternative, and E south and in between. And then alternatives F and G are the 8108 alternatives, with F as that north and in between alternative and G as the south and in between alternative. So the next few slides lay out the alternatives one by one, so you can see them from the termini, the east and west termini there. So this is alternative B. It's the 686 north alternative. So this would include 1 new bridge north of and 1 in between the existing bridges. It would include that that shared use path. And we are working on those locations of the lane transitions where the 8 lanes on the crossing would transition back to the existing 6 lanes on either shore. Those lane transitions will be identified in the DEIS. So this is alternative C, similar to alternative B. It just would be different in that the structure location would be one new bridge south of and one in between the existing bridges. So here's alternative D, which is the 888 alternative, which would include this alternative D, one new bridge north of and one in between the existing bridges, would include that shared use path, and we would be including widening from the western termini of that Maryland 2 450 interchange over to the US 50 301 split on the eastern shore. Alternative E is a very similar alternative, but with that new bridge structure being one new bridge south of and one in between the existing bridges. This is alternative F that shows the 810-8 north alternative. So one new bridge north of and one in between the existing bridges. And alternative G, the 810-8 south alternative with the one new bridge south of and one in between the existing bridges. So we are, we're going through and considering and all of the comments that we received during the December open houses last year, and looking forward, we will be looking for that concurrence from the agencies on the ARDS and preparing that draft DEIS and the technical reports that support the DEIS, as I mentioned. We will also be continuing public and stakeholder engagement. We have a very robust program where we go out to community events. And if any of you know of any that you would like for us to come out to have a table on the Bay Crossing study, please reach out and let me know. Okay, and there are contacts.
All right,
So
thank you.
I'll turn this back over to Dan.
Yeah, we might have some questions, but first, I'll ask for a member to move for approval of Resolution 2522 and then a second. Does any member have any questions or comments about the resolution? I guess we do the move. Let's move first for the approval.
Yes. Thank you.
Annapolis move.
Thank you, Kwaku. Kwaku from Annapolis says recommended approval of the resolution.
Hartford County seconds.
All right, Hartford County seconds. Does any member have any questions or comments about the resolution? Hearing none.
Hey, Dan,
Okay, I thought maybe some. Thank you.
no.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, Heather, thanks for all your hard work on this and being here today to present this to us and, keeping everybody up to speed with this huge project as it goes through the process. I did have a point of clarification, understanding that all the interchanges and ramps and access points are to remain in place. That we have a lot of work to do to figure out whether we're going to be 6 lanes, 8 lanes, or 10-lane bridge, and some of the construction about what happens with interchanges at Maryland 8 and Oceanic Drive and potentially Kent Ayers Bridge. So there's a lot of moving parts still to figure out. But I wanted to just make sure that the decision not to close exit ramps or not to consolidate interchanges won't reduce or limit the opportunity to expand those lanes. So I don't want to be in a situation where we stick with 6 lanes to keep exit ramps open when 8 lanes might be a better alternative. You know, so how do those get reconciled as you're trying to make decisions? I don't want this early decision on keeping exit ramps open to impact the number of lanes or the lanes on the bridge in the future, if that makes sense.
Absolutely right. And it would not, that would not keep us from, say, selecting the 8-lane as opposed to a 6. At this time, we feel that and it is our intent to keep all of the existing movements available for people to have access to their businesses and their homes and their community facilities. But certainly if we get into a situation where we may need to look at something else, we will work with you on that. But we do expect to be able to keep all of the existing movements. So we might be making improvements to interchanges. They might look a little different.
Yep.
But we are anticipating to keep all those movements.
So making that decision now doesn't limit any of the options that are on the table now,
No.
or become a driving factor in how we make those decisions.
Right.
Okay.
No. Thank you.
Thanks. That's very helpful.
Anything else?
Hey, do we have any other questions?
I do have another question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Now that the NEPA study's narrowed in on 2 bridges, and we know that they're going to be likely built at 2 different times, if we're looking at widening the corridor to 8 lanes and doing those improvements along the whole corridor, do we know if that would happen with the first bridge or with the second bridge yet?
We don't know that yet. But right. We'll be
Okay.
working on the schedule, a potential build schedule as the study moves along. So I think we'll have a better idea of that as we get closer. It would be likely, of course, that we would build those structures first and make sure that, of course, we're not going to build a new bridge that wouldn't, and then it wouldn't connect, of course, to the existing infrastructure. So
It's still in the works. I get it.
it is in the works. Yes, my brain is. Yeah. That's down the line a little bit as we look into that project delivery.
Okay. And then one final thing, you know that Anne Arundel County and Queen Anne's County are both working with State Highway on the ramp closure pilot projects. And recently a ramp was closed on the Western Shore to deal with the congestion at the bridge. And I see that in the ARDS study that there was specific language that says that this decision does not preclude ongoing studies by State Highway related to access and those things. So our work with the county's work with State Highway can continue. And if there's decisions made, they're separate from this process about summer seasonal closures, how to manage the ramps in the term until the bridge is built. The decision to keep ramps open is not a decision for State Highway to keep them open until something's built. It's State Highway would look at those issues separate in dealing with the county and the congestion issues that we're currently. Okay.
And we are in constant communication with SHA. Just want to make sure everybody know that we work very closely with our SHA partners.
Now, we appreciate that line being included in there, and that clarifies that for us. So thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve, for the comments and questions. Do you have any others? All right, that was a good conversation.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Heather. I think we're ready for the roll call.
We'll now vote on resolution 2522 for the VRTB. And when your name is read, please indicate aye or nay. Rebecca, please read down the list of members.
Annapolis,
Aye.
Anne Arundel County,
Aye.
Baltimore City,
Aye.
Baltimore County,
Aye.
Carroll County,
Aye.
Harford County,
Aye.
Howard County,
Aye.
Queen Anne's County,
Aye.
and MDOT.
All right, the resolution is passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
The Anne Arundel County Ferry Project, and the Rural Transit Systems Project for MTA, and Urban Transit Systems for MTA, and the Annapolis Ferry Project. Several presenters are here today, so we'll starting with Indamazia Funkin, and she's going to kick us off.
Hi, Dan. Thanks so much. Today we have 5 amendments to the 25-28 TIP. Like Dan said, from MDOT MTA, MDTA, Anne Arundel County, and the City of Annapolis. Of these, 2 are new projects and 3 are updates to existing projects. The ICG has reviewed these projects and has determined all to be exempt according to the conformity rule. Project sponsors will now be recognized to present the details, beginning with Mr. Brian Ulrich of Anne Arundel County.
Okay, you can go to the next slide. So this is the Anne Arundel County Ferry Project. It's a new passenger ferry service connecting Annapolis, Baltimore, and Queen Anne's County, Matty Peak Park. Includes the electric ferry, purchase vehicles, landing improvements if necessary, and charging infrastructure. You can see here we're working with the cities and Queen Anne's County on the specifics of the locations and agreements, but you can see we'll go from City Dock in Annapolis to Queen Anne's County and to City of Baltimore. I think it shows Canton right now, but we're still working with the city on exactly where those locations will be. And you can see here the cost of the funding here with the local match, and we got a federal grant, so that's the federal funds in this for up to 2 passenger ferries, landing improvements, and charging infrastructure. And this is the specifics of the proposed amendment. Any questions? I think that's it for my project. Yep, there's my information if anyone has any more questions.
Hey Brian, I got a quick question.
Yeah.
Just a gee whiz question. How long does it take to ferry from Baltimore to Annapolis? Do you know?
It depends on the vehicle we get, and that's part of the RFP process that we're starting. Obviously the size and capacity of the ferry is going to play a role in that.
Thank you.
Okay, I believe Jamie, you can start on the urban and rural transit.
Thanks, Regina. Good morning, everyone. Jamie Richardson here from MTA. I'll just present about a TIP amendment for urban and rural transit systems, capital assistance. So just as a reminder, when we're obligating a grant, we show the funds in the year of obligation. Next slide. So for a rural capital assistance, this was a previous project in the past TIP that we're just adding to the current TIP. So for this project, it supports preventive maintenance in Carroll County and a Baltimore County project for 4 medium-duty buses. So with this funding, it assists transit systems in that rural category with capital funding. And this amendment adds $4 million in 5311 funds. And then there's a $1 million local and state match. Next slide. For the Urban Capital Assistance tip, Hartford County was awarded an FY 2021 bus and bus facilities grant for vehicle purchases, but we're obligating the grant this fiscal year in FY 2025, so adding it to the tip. So this funding assists urban transit systems with capital funding, and this will add $1.4 million in 5311 funds, and then a $265,000 match. Next slide. Here's my contact information if there's any questions, and those are the two tip amendments from MTA.
Okay, Kwaku, if you want to show the Annapolis Electric Ferry Project.
Sure. Thank you, Regina. This is Kwaku Ajimandua with City of Annapolis Transportation Department. This amendment is to move all the total project cost of $3.5 million of the Annapolis Battery Electric Ferry Project to FY 2025. That is the year of anticipation to obligate the funds. We are doing this against the background for potential federal recall of some of these discretionary grants. There is no decision yet by FTA on this potential recall, so we are assuming that we are moving forward with that. Just for information, so we have completed the NEPA process review. We are excited about that. Next slide, please. Okay, so here, our ferries, proposed ferry is a pilot project. It's a new ferry service for passengers and bicycles. The distance is a very short one. It's about half mile long. And currently, Annapolis has existing on-demand water taxi service, which is operated by a private operator. So this is just to complement that one, not to replace it. Estimated annual ridership, we are looking at about 20,000 riders, mostly in the summer months. Next slide, please. So here is the program cost. We do have federal funding under the 5307 passenger ferry grant, which is a discretionary program, which I just mentioned earlier. And of course, the local matching funds. In terms of financing ratio, the federal dollars is about 85%, and the local fund constitutes about 15% of the project cost. Next slide. So here we do have the ferry vessels up to landing improvements or dock improvements and charging infrastructure. What we are trying to do is we are aware of ferry vessels with integrated charger. So we will basically combine the ferry vessels and then the charging infrastructure into one project or RFP, which is currently underway. And the landing improvements will consist of design and engineering, and following that will be the construction of the landing improvements. Next slide, please. So here we are in terms of timeline. We are about to award a contract for the ferry vessels with the integrated charger. It is now on hold because of the potential recall. However, we are moving forward with the RFP for the landing improvements, which will be released sometime this month. And then in FY 2026, all things are going well. We do anticipate to actually have the service in place. Next slide, please. Okay, here is my information in case anybody has any questions or need additional information, you can reach out to me. Thank you.
All right, thanks everybody.
Yes.
Ready for me? Okay. So I guess we'll ask for a member for approval of resolution 2523, recommend approval of these 4 projects.
Can we get a motion in a second, please?
Anne Arundel County will make a motion.
I think we're trying to hurry up because we got another meeting coming up. Sam?
Hartford County seconds.
All right. Thank you very much. Does any member have any questions or comments on this resolution? Members of the public have any comments, Rebecca, Regina?
No, there's nothing in the chat.
Okay, thank you. So we'll now vote on sending resolution 2523 to the BRTB. When your name is read, please indicate aye or nay. And Rebecca, please read down the list of members. Thank you.
Annapolis,
Aye.
Anne Arundel County,
Aye.
Baltimore City,
Aye.
Baltimore County,
Aye.
Carroll County,
Aye.
Harford County,
Aye.
Howard County,
Aye.
Queen Anne's County,
Aye.
and MDOT.
Aye.
Thanks.
Thank you, Rebecca. Okay, resolution's passed. We're going to move on now to action item number 4, recommended action on resolution 25-24. We'll now consider sending resolution 2524 to the BRTB. The resolution's request to amend the tip to allow the Maryland Transportation Authority to program the infra grant for the Curtis Creek Drawbridge Deck Rehabilitation and Resiliency Project. Mr. Carl Chamberlain will present. Carl?
Hey everybody, I'll be quick. This is a very simple project. It's new going in the tip, but it's been a project that we've had around for a while. So the scope for this project is replacement of portions of concrete deck and parapets at the Curtis Street Bridge, repair and strengthening of steel cantilever girders, and removal and replacement of low-level lights and traffic signals. This is basically a system preservation project that we won an infra grant project for. It's near the FSK facility, and so there's a couple of projects that we're trying to move forward with since there's sort of less traffic on the facility, and this is one of them. Next slide. The schedule and cost for the project. So again, I mentioned this is new to the tip. This is traditionally a project that wouldn't go in the tip because it's a smaller MDTA project, but because of the federal funds being added to the project, we need to make sure it gets in the tip. So the advertisement is actually coming up. We've been working on this project for a couple of years, but the advertisement is planned for spring of this year with construction in the fall of 2025. And that's when we anticipate obligating the funds for the project. The total cost of the project, $12.7 million, and the grant funding component of that is $7.5 million. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, going once, going twice. Thank you, Carl. Thanks for the presentation. Needed project. So now we're going to ask for a member to recommend approval in a second, please.
So moved by Harford County.
Second, Anne Arundel.
All right, Sam Call from Harford County recommends approval, and Brian Ulrich and Arundel County recommends a second. Any members of the public have any, questions on this resolution? Or any members have any questions? We'll take anybody.
Nope.
All right, none. Okay, so let's now take our vote. Rebecca, would you please read down the list of members?
Yes, Annapolis,
Aye.
Anne Arundel County,
Aye.
Baltimore City,
Aye.
Baltimore County,
Aye.
Carroll County,
Aye.
Harford County,
Aye.
Howard County,
Aye.
Queen Anne's County,
Aye.
and MDOT.
Aye.
Thanks again.
Thank you too. All right, so let's move on to action item number 5, presentation from Microtransit Solutions Priorities. The consultant team for Microtransit Solutions Project will share a summary of their work, including analysis and report deliverables, as well as an overview of selected topics with the best practices Microtransit Guidebook. Is it Eileen Daney or?
Hi, good morning. This is Aileen.
Aileen, thank you.
Can you hear me okay? And can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see you, but not your screen.
Okay, let me try again. How's that?
Here
Yes.
we go. Thank you, Aileen.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Well, thanks for the introduction. Good morning, everyone. My name is Aileen Daney. I'm a project manager and the Atlanta office manager for Foursquare ITP, and we've been supporting BMC on this effort. A little bit about our project team. This project was led by both Foursquare ITP and Kimley Horn. These are the lovely, talented folks who contributed to this effort with me as your project manager. So today I'll run through just a few things. I know we're up against time, so I won't belabor too many of the points that we want to share with you all, but we want to share a little bit about our project purpose, what deliverables we were able to share and produce, the penultimate deliverable, which is the microtransit guidebook, and then leave a little bit of time for any Q&A you all might have. So a little bit of background before we dive into the project itself. This was approved as a part of you all's fiscal year 2024 UPWP, and we had a steering committee that was involved throughout the process, comprised of the county and city members, as well as MDOT MTA. Our project purpose is really simple. We wanted to help develop best practices for those agencies looking to implement, operate, promote, and fund microtransit in the Baltimore region, with a special emphasis on coordinating between jurisdictions and across jurisdictional boundaries. So before we get into microtransit topics itself, a little primer on what is microtransit, in case you're not familiar. So you might be thinking of paratransit or demand response, but microtransit is a little bit different in that it's privately or publicly operated technology-enabled transit that typically uses multi-passenger shuttles or vans to provide an on-demand-like service. So with paratransit and demand response, typically you have to book in advance. There might even be eligibility requirements such as age and disability status. This does not have that. A little bit about our project schedule. So we started this effort almost a year ago, back in April 2024, initiating the project with the steering committee and the consultant team and the staff at BMC. We met several times over the course of the next 8 or so months in June, August, and November as a steering committee to get feedback on some of our interim deliverables that I'll walk through. We also provided time at the end of the year for the steering committee to review the guidebook itself and make sure that it addressed the topics that they wanted to see and in adequate detail. And then as of January this year, 2025, we were able to finalize and publish the guidebook. So a little bit about interim project deliverables that supported the guidebook. Our first is what we call the microtransit context report. So this is a first of its kind of state of the system report, if you will. We wanted to answer questions like what microtransit service exists already today, who might need microtransit service the most in the Baltimore region, where do they want microtransit service to take them, and where can microtransit potentially be a better solution than fixed route transit. Another interim deliverable that we created builds on that microtransit context report and went a little bit deeper and looked at areas in the region where microtransit was likely to be successful, as well as a potential use case for each. So for instance, it might be the best use of microtransit to replace inefficient fixed route service, or it might be best used as a first mile and last mile solution. The way that we prioritize some of these enhancement opportunities is in lockstep with the Resilience 2050 policy and technical scoring. So we borrowed the work that was already done to prioritize that work. And we looked at other enhancement opportunities, not just things spatially on a map, but what can we do in terms of data, procurement, funding, policies to help create that successful system for microtransit. The third interim deliverable is a case studies report. So we looked at 12 peer agencies across the country from 5 different regions. And those regions had similar characteristics to Baltimore. And we developed agency fact sheets about each of those. What kind of microtransit system were they operating? What insights did they have? We spoke to the folks who led those programs and launched those programs. what kind of lessons learned did they share with us that we could then carry forward as a best practice to help Baltimore either avoid or follow their success. And this all led to what we refer to as the Microtransit Guidebook for the Baltimore region. This is really a tool that's supposed to help local jurisdictions and transit operators answer questions when they're in any part of the microtransit process, whether it's thinking about starting microtransit service and understanding if it's the right service for their agency, understanding how to design the service if they choose to move forward with it, integrating it with other modes, promoting the service so that folks in the public and customers know how microtransit works and how it can help them. And then even things on the internal side, like how does an agency structure procurement? How do they provide incentives for recruiting drivers, things like that. So we've turned this into sort of a how-to guide for all things microtransit. So a little bit about the guidebook structure. We organize this into 6 color-coded sections that talk to a specific concept, whether that's at the planning stage or implementation or enhancement. We also use best practice text within to guide. So you can see this is just a preview, a little bit about the layout, introducing a concept, trying to translate some of those technical concepts into things that are easier to consume, either via graphics or including case study examples of that best practice that we learned about. I won't go through, of course, the guidebook verbatim, but I did just want to mention a few of the highlights that we were able to pull out. So things like thinking about supporting and complementing fixed route services is in there. So how can an agency understand when maybe replacing fixed route service is an option versus expanding the fixed route service network footprint by using it as a first or last mile solution? Similarly, we know there are a spectrum of service delivery models, things that can be done in-house, things that can be done by a provider. This is really to help an agency understand the trade-offs between those different models. A new topic that we broached in this is electrification, thinking about what are the considerations an agency has to consider if they're approaching microtransit electrification. This is an emerging practice, so this was a new and kind of fun area for us to research. Performance monitoring is another section I just want to highlight briefly. We know that fixed route transit and microtransit service their success is not defined the same way. So we wanted to make sure that that was understood by agencies and they had an idea of how to better measure and track what microtransit success does look like. And then, how can they establish targets or potentially benchmarks over time? And as I mentioned, this isn't just on sort of the operation side, that we're also thinking about, we know driver recruitment and retention has been challenging, workforce challenges overall in transit are a national issue. So how can we kind of help an agency understand the state of their hiring practice and make potential improvements? This guidebook doesn't answer all the questions, so we've also acknowledged that and pointed agencies to outside resources, other folks like NCAT who are doing great work, TCRP is doing great work in this area, so they can learn more. So in summary, the guidebook really is one tool to help agencies understand the how-tos of microtransit from planning and implementation and enhancement. And we've tried to use real-world examples and proven methods that we've seen from across the country. So agencies are starting from all different places. Some of them have different motivating goals. And this can be a single resource that they can decide what works best for them and create a really context-sensitive program. Hope I didn't go too long. That's our Q&A.
Aileen, this was great. I think we'll say questions. If anybody does have questions, they can reach out to myself. They can reach out to Regina. We've got your email right here. but kudos, this is a great product.